Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Undead, back again for the 5th episode of my How to Dominate series, where I give you tips, tricks, and general strategies to help you succeed and master all the heroes and villains in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, last week I mentioned that this episode's hero is going to be decided by viewers, and wow, you guys overwhelmingly wanted to see Grandmaster Yoda. A wise choice, and now let's get into it. Yoda, like Luke, was a character I was very tepid about originally. I didn't think he was too great, but also I didn't really think he was too half bad. The gist of Yoda's performance in-game really boils down to the game mode you're playing. See, in Galactic Assault, which is what my How to Dominate series is really focused on, Yoda is really, really good, and he's the very, very model of a valuable support player. But on heroes as villains, on the other hand, Yoda really, really struggles immensely to stand on his own 2 feet. But we'll talk more about that later. But overall, Yoda is an extremely fun hero to play. His agility is through the roof, and his incredibly tiny hitbox makes him an extremely hard target to hit. And combine that with the fact that Yoda has 700 starting health, which is a really good amount, and his presence ability gives himself and all nearby allies an extra 250 health, he is excellent at defense and can really turn the tide in some tight Galactic Assault matches. All of his abilities cater to this theme as well. First up is his Unleash ability, where he conjures up a force push on steroids, where he can absorb all incoming damage from one direction and then outsource it back to his attackers. Secondly, he has his Presence ability, which is Yoda's core strength and team play synergy. Like I mentioned earlier, this ability gives a temporary 250 health bonus to everyone affected in a 360-degree radius around Yoda. And finally, we have Yoda's Saber Rush that can be used offensively or defensively to get into or out of firefights safely. Star card choices for Yoda rely on personal preference as per usual and depends on which of his abilities you like the most, but as far as star cards that I'd recommend to help up your Yoda game the fastest, I'd personally recommend the cards Earned It I Have and Master the Force, both of which upgrade Yoda's Unleash ability to 1. Be fully charged up to 30% faster, and 2. Deal up to 50 extra damage when fully charged, bringing the total damage of a fully charged Unleash ability to a whopping 200 damage. I chose these 2 cards specifically because I feel like Yoda's Unleash ability is his most valuable, and by using these 2 cards, you can rush into a doorway, absorb a small amount of damage, and then quickly turn that around and instantly kill every unbuffed trooper class in the entire game. If you don't have that damage star card though, you won't be able to instantly kill heavies, which isn't too big of a deal, but for me personally, instantly killing any heavy class is a must-have. The extra damage also helps ward off enemy aerial or enforcer classes. As far as the 3rd card that I have equipped here, Lightsaber Mastery, I'll be honest with you, the only reason I'm using this card is because I got it by just pre-ordering the game. But I actually do find the increased stamina useful because Yoda's lightsaber strikes do the least amount of damage of all lightsaber users in the game, coming at 80 damage to the front of a target and 100 to the back. This means that you'll have to be 3 hitting heavy troopers from the front, and if there are multiple targets, forget it, your stamina is going to be gone in no time. Now, if you don't want to run this card specifically, the other recommendation I would have is the card that gives Yoda a 3rd Saber Rush. You can never really go wrong with these types of cards. In Galactic Assault, Yoda's strategy and success really depends on the map. For example, Yoda is extremely powerful on maps where he is on the defending team, such as Kamino, Yavin, Naboo, Kashyyyk, Takodana, Crate, Tatooine, and Hoth. Now, this is because the key to dominating as Yoda is choke points. Yoda's first ability, Unleash, when fully charged up by enemy fire, can clear entire swaths of enemy troopers bundled up in hallways and other narrow paths. When you don't have your Unleash ability ready, shift your focus and provide your teammates with that huge health boost using your Presence ability so they can cover the choke points and objectives while your abilities cool down. If push comes to shove, or you're just being greedy, Saber Rush is a great tool to cover a lot of ground and take out a couple enemies quickly, or to simply get out of danger. Now, the reason Yoda doesn't work necessarily as well on maps that the light side is assaulting is because when assaulting, that typically means that the enemies are going to be all around you instead of just focused down in front of you. Now, think of the best example is just think of the 2nd stage of Endor where you're pushing through the forest. But when enemies get behind you and when you are using your Unleash ability, waiting for that charge to build up, it leaves you very vulnerable to getting shot in the back. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make it work. It just means that you have to be aware of those types of situations, and you'll be fine. As far as dealing with enemy heroes, Yoda is fantastic at battling Boba Fett, Captain Phasma, Bossk, Iden Versio, and a really bad Darth Maul player. All of these ranged villains have generally a hard time targeting Yoda's small nature, and granted you can get up close to them, they shouldn't be too much of a problem to deal with assuming you are comboing your abilities. Open up with a presence so you can tank more hits. Use your Unleash to deal a 100 to 200 damage blowback depending on your charge up and send the enemy flying out of position and away from their allies. And then finally use your Saber Rush to close the distance and then slash the villains until they are defeated. On the flip side though, Kylo Ren, a competent Darth Maul player, Darth Vader are absolute nightmares to fight as Yoda, and Emperor Palpatine, especially in his current overpowered state as of January 20th, makes him virtually a god to fight against as Yoda. I would avoid these villains like the plague and keep your distance unless they are caught in the middle of a bunch of your allies who are focusing them down. Otherwise, if you really want to tackle those enemy villains that I just mentioned, always travel with your fellow hero or heroes on your team. When tackling regular infantry, just apply the same steps as I mentioned for dealing with enemy heroes. Presence for health, Unleash for clearing out groups of enemies and negating damage, and then Saber Rush for quick kills or escape. Yoda's first ability, and arguably his most important in Galactic Assault, is his Unleash ability. This ability is really incredible and truly the make or break for being a good player as Yoda. Now the key to using Unleash is what I mentioned in the strategy section, which is choke points. Making sure the enemy is in front of you and making sure that you aren't getting flanked from the sides or behind you. When using Unleash, you virtually take 0 damage from the direction you are facing, all the while as you absorb more enemy fire, you're able to deal more damage out when you send it back their way to your attackers. If you went with the star card that allows Yoda to deal up to 50 more damage with a fully charged Unleash ability, that means you're essentially able to one-hit kill any unbuffed trooper class that is in your cone of fire. Doing this in the hallways of Naboo, the small interiors of the Juggernauts on Kashyyyk, the lanes on Kamino, all these places are prime spots for you to sit and keep spamming your Unleash ability over and over as much as you can. The range of the ability is rather large too, so it really allows Yoda to take out enemies further out, even more so if you actually take the star card that allows the fully charged radius to be even bigger than normal. Overall, it's a really great ability. The one thing to keep in mind, of course, is that the Unleash ability is directly tied to your blocking, and that this blocking does not block lightsaber attacks. It can block explosives, it can block chain lightning, it can block Palpatine's regular lightning attack, but it cannot block lightsabers. This gets so many Yoda players killed. Yoda's second ability, his presence ability, is really straightforward, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but like I mentioned before, his presence ability allows Yoda to give himself and all nearby allies an extra 250 health, which can really make holding an objective in Galactic Assault that much easier. As far as specifics, honestly, just try to get into a position where you can affect as many people on your team as possible, and keep popping it as soon as it comes back and as soon as the ability recharges, because there really isn't a bad time to have an extra 250 health. Just keep it flowing for your team and just pop it as soon as it comes back. Finally, we have Yoda's last ability, which again is pretty simple and straightforward, and for those of you that have seen my Luke Skywalker guide, its usage and principles are pretty much the exact same as they were there. Think about it as an offensive tool to dart down a hallway or close the gap, getting a few quick kills, but more importantly as an escape vector that makes you almost an impossible target to hit. Actually, you are an impossible target to hit, and gets you to safety very quickly. The biggest tip I can give regarding Yoda's Saber Rush is to always make sure you have at least one ready to go when you're entering combat. Because Yoda, unlike any other hero, has the shortest dodge distance in the game, meaning if you hit circle, B, or the Alt key on PC, you travel the shortest distance, meaning that you really shouldn't rely on the dodge mechanic to save your skin, because more often than not, it won't make too much of a difference. Keeping that in mind, like I said, just make sure to have one on standby before you enter combat, and you'll be fine. In conclusion, Yoda is a very polarizing hero. Some people hate him, some people like him a lot, but for the most part, I think that really boils down to the game mode you play the most, because in terms of Galactic Assault, which is this series' focus, Yoda is an extremely powerful and useful support hero who can make objectives nearly impossible for the attacking team to take. While Yoda won't necessarily be up there with as many kills as some other heroes in the game, he does make up for it by reining in the most W's for your win-loss ratio. Just remember to hold choke points, heal your team as much as you can, and stick with fellow heroes when possible, and you'll be dominating as Yoda in no time. That about wraps up episode 5 of my How to Dominate series in Battlefront 2. I really hope some of you guys found these tips and strategies useful, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and feedbacks down in the comments below, and if this video helps you out, I'd be forever grateful if you share this video with a friend. This next episode will be a toss-up between Rey and Darth Maul, so please let me know which one you guys want to see in the comments below, and the most requested choice is the one I'll do. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.